Alright, do you think we can make a carburetor out of this mess? I sure hope so. We'll find out right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Rusty Oliver Man, and this here is the little Schebler carburetor off of a TO30 Ferguson, and got it cleaned up, I think, pretty good, and we're going to try to put a kit in it. So let's get going. Alright, so there's several kits you can get, different numbers. The one I got here is this. Basically they're all the same, except each one has more pieces or whatever. So this was the standard kit that came for this. You can match it up and see. Sad thing is, a lot of times once you open it, it becomes yours. So, because there's too many little pieces that could be lost. So where do we start? Well, that's up for debate. I think I will start with the top half. You can do it however you please. But that's just what I think is going to work easier. We have to reuse our throttle shaft. And what else do we need? Well, we need our little flapper for the throttle shaft. I forgot to bring in some thread tape, which people will say, hey, why are you using that? Well, I like it. That's why. Let's see, what else am I missing here? Alright. So, dealer's choice. Where do you want to start? Well, we will probably start with a little piece that I did not get out of the bowl. And I like to keep a little bit of my old friend, the carburetor cleaner here, or brake clean, so I can, what am I trying to say? You know, spray through it once before you finally put it together, just in case. I'm not having a ton of success here, trying to do what I'm doing off camera. My screwdriver is all set for the wrong thing. So this is a piece that you definitely don't want to lose, and it would be very easy to lose because it's made of brass, see? And you don't want to drop it. Also, you want to make sure you start it in there right, and that could be hard to do too. This one is drilled at an angle slightly, so you don't want to force it. You want to make sure it's in there, and don't go overboard, or you'll strip her out like that last guy did on that Moline carburetor. And that is sadness, friends. Now we might as well go with our needle and seat, or I should say our seat. I'll start with that, and we'll get to the needle in a minute. Got your little red washer here and your seat. It's got slots in it. Unfortunately, I have never really run across an excellent tool to do every single one of these. So you got to kind of use your best judgment. Like, see, this isn't wide enough to go across, but when you get one that is, it's not going to be, it's going to be too thick. So what I've been doing lately is putting it there, and then take the red pliers and give it a little turn. The nice thing about the red pliers is they're smooth, so you're not going to scar up the edges and stuff. Then we will put our gasket on. Why, you ask? Well, because when you put the float on, you're not going to have room to do that. So, modern day carburetors come with the little rubber tip needle, which is a two-edged sword. Sure, the rubber's supposed to stop it from dripping, but you can't really seat it in. On the old ones, you could use to take a, hammer and tap it down and get a good seal, but can't really do that anymore, so gotta roll the dice on that. The new carburetor kits usually come with a new pin, and then this little clip, which you can use or not use, that's up to you. It's supposed to keep it from sticking. The rubber is more prone to sticking, I suppose. However, it can also hold your deal open and make it leak. So sometimes you might want to just throw the clip over your shoulder. This is kind of a trick too. It makes it more difficult to put together. There we go. Put our pin in. That's a heck of a pin. I hope that that will do what it's supposed to do. Because is our original pin that long? Better double check. Yeah, it is. I didn't want it to hit the housing, but it should be fine. We'll test fit. Yep, it'll go. Alright, now the keen observer to things before will know that the float is correctly set pretty well when it's level. You can get out the little tape measure it comes with and follow the directions or whatever, but it's basically, the GoPro may not give it a good accurate picture because the GoPro kind of distorts it for a wide angle, but if it's sitting level when you're holding it upside down, you've pretty well got it right. And I think this one's right on the money, so I tweaked it just ever so slightly, but I think we're good there. Our next deal, I should have done that probably before I did the float, but this is kind of a trick to get in there sometimes. Make sure you get it the right way. I've seen guys put it the wrong way, but I guess I should show you before I do that. It fits down in this little recess here. And if you force it, you know, it won't go the other way. I've seen guys do it though, and they forced it and they broke it. So do not do that thing. Sometimes it is, in fact, easier to do this before you put the float in, but there we go. So that's that. You maybe also have wanted to put all this together. A lot of times I don't. This one was pretty good. The throttle shaft. It has almost no play in it at all that I can feel. And if I put the new rubber thing in there, I'm going to do it more harm than good because it will be too stiff and then the governor won't work. And that's usually the way it rolls there. So I would probably recommend putting the throttle shaft in before you put the float on, just because now it makes it unhandy to handle. But you can see it fits right in there, and it usually comes with new screws. I got too excited and I just caused myself a lot more trouble. So alright, I'm actually going to use the old screws for this because the new ones I'm not happy with the way they're coming together. The old screws are brass, and so what have you. Like I said, I should have got too excited and I should have done the float last, but I can make do. The bad thing about the brass screws is you can't, no magnet, so you're gonna work twice as hard, see? But they fit in the threads better on this one anyway. Sometimes that's not the case, but in this one it is. So I don't want to, I would rather it be right than just use all the new parts to say I used the new parts. It's a lot harder to do with the float on. I often wonder how bad it's going to be when I get old, if I actually would accidentally live long, because I shake already the way it is. And I don't know. Trying to put stuff in very precise things like this. I need the screw starter. I have one of those in my rollaway box that basically grabs onto the flat part of the screw, and you can maneuver it in the threads. Dropped it. Oh, isn't this fascinating? A large man trying to maneuver tiny, tiny tools. Come on. Come on. There we go. I think we're good on that. That's what we want. Flopping action. Then you'll have a good governor. So we will table. Should we table the rest of this and put that needle in at the end? I think so. Now for this half, our big to-do is going to be this choke shaft. I'm thinking that we're going to be doing more. We can put this nozzle in though, so we don't forget about that, because that's the kind of thing that we would forget, and then it would be a sad deal, and we don't want to do that. Alright, the old brass nozzle. Like I said in the other video, like I said in the other video, what did I say? Well, I said that they're different styles, see? And this one, is that the one we want? The kit comes with several different things, and you don't use all of the pieces all the time. But I'm debating between one and the other here. Which one's the better fit? That one's too tight, so that can't be it. It's got to be this one. Basically, it's going to go in here. And I think we said it was a 3/8. I surely didn't use the impact on it, did I? Taking it out? I would never do such a thing. It's 7/16. Remember that now. They're always 7/16. Sure. Normally I like to use a 1/4 inch ratchet setup, but this is what I got handy here, so we'll do that and then twist it off. You know how tight stuff has to be. You just have to use your feelers. Now this has a little brass jobbing that goes in there. So that one, we can put that one in dry. That bottom plug though, I will probably get some sealer for it, which I have, or not sealer, but you can use whatever. Pipe thread dope, or, you know, I'm going to use the tape. I'll be honest, I use the tape all the time. I'll do that when I go outside and take it. So that does us there. Now we're going to have to deal with this throttle shaft ordeal. Oh, did I say throttle shaft? I meant choke shaft. See, when I put it in, it had a lot of play in it. yeah, right there. So I'm gonna see what I can't do about that. If I was to pry out this little thing, which I probably didn't bring the right thing to do that either. There we go. And there is a seal behind it. And I'm hoping that what I got here on hand is gonna be the right thing to do. Alright. There we go. Okay, what would be the best way to do this? Well, can I tuck it in there with this and then pull that back out? That would be the best way. If a guy wants to do that. That ain't the one. That ain't the one. Okie doke. Well, we're gonna reuse that one because the other one ain't there. Now, that's much more better. His spring's broke, so I ain't even gonna put it back on. There's no point to that. Now we're gonna have to slide that plate in and put the screws in. Okay, where were we? Well, we were getting ready to put this back in, as that's where we were. And I kind of cheated when I took it apart. I didn't take it all the way apart, so I didn't have to get that spring around that flap. So we're gonna have to get that flap to jump around that whilst we go. I'm hoping I can make this happen. I don't usually do it this way, but that seems to be the theme of this YouTube channel. Stuff I would normally do a totally different way, I end up doing in a strange way for the camera. But you can see what's happening there. If that makes sense. But this thing goes through that shaft. It's got a split in it. So you gotta kind of play with it a little bit. Then you gotta get it just right, which I think that is. And then you gotta try not to spill all your pieces, because that would be sad. And what kind of... I'm not really happy with the... Alright, even though I got one, I think I'm gonna change my ways, because I don't like it as well. I don't like the new ones as well as I like the old ones. The new ones seem to stand too proud of the shaft, and I don't like that. I want it to be fit in there nice so it doesn't come loose. That's what I'm saying. So that's fine, we can switch back to the originals. Sometimes if you put the screw on the screwdriver and hold it vertically, you can get it started. And then tip whichever way you have to. But it's made in such a way that that little flapper deal in there, if you can see that flapper, that it's going to be able to suck itself open if you have it choked off so it doesn't totally kill it. Well, it still will, but you know what I mean. It'll still let some through. So with that done and tightened up, I think we should be good to go. Like I said, I didn't put that, his spring was broken, and I don't really like those anyway, so I'm not going to do it. And I don't think he would want to wait a week on a spring because I don't have one. Now, put this together. Just make sure that you get that little venturi seated in there and you're not forcing anything. You don't need to force it. You should be fine. Get your screws in there. Maybe. Probably not, but we'll try. Okay, friends, it just said file repaired. I was happily talking, and I noticed the camera froze up, so I don't know how much you got to see. I guess I'll see when I edit it. But I got this put together and the screws tightened. And I was just talking about how in the kits, usually there comes two different types of idle screws, and so you got to take your old one and match it up and see which one has the same type of taper as it. So we're going to go with that one. And I have run into the issue before where it still wasn't the greatest, and I ended up putting the old one back in, but hopefully we don't encounter that trouble on here, because I don't want to get a call that says it ain't right. I'm already in the project farther than I really wanted to be, but you're going to turn it till it's just lightly seated. You're not trying to cram it down and see if you're man enough to twist the brass off. We don't want that. And then I'll read, but usually I set those at 1.5 turns, but I'm going to double check the... Okay, this one says turn needle in lightly till seated, then back out 1 turn. So that's what we'll do. So he can adjust it from there. So that's 1/2, and that's 1. And then let's go a little bit more. Alright. So that's set there. Then we are left with this load needle job. There is, in fact, a gasket for this that it says to put in there. Although, you can do that with mixed results. And this is the kind that's just a hand screw. There's no slot to put a screwdriver in. It's got that notch so you can kind of index where you're at, but this one should probably be, it says back out 1 turn, so we will back it out 1 turn, and then I'm going to go a little more, just because that's what I do. I usually do 1 turn, and I usually do 1.5 and 2.5, I think, on most of them, but that'll be a good starting place. Then we got to put this back in, which I got to do that outside with thread sealer. I never got that done. And then this, same way with this. Set it on my little display shelf I made. So there we have a rebuilt TSX 458 MARVEL-SCHEBLER carburetor, ready to go back on a Ferguson. We tightened up the choke shaft by putting a new seal in there, and our throttle shaft flops when we're done, so we know we did good. The whole thing's been cleaned, new gaskets all the way through, so that should do what he wants it to do. If it doesn't idle for him, he may have to play with the timing. I don't know if that has been done. I can't remember what we all did the day that I was there. I was not really equipped to do it that day because we were in a hurry, so anyway, but that's how that goes. When you get these, like I said, ooh, I thought of something else. I will give him the new gasket there. He needs that. But if you don't use everything, you'll have little things left over, you know. I don't always take every piece out because there's no need to, like the back side of, okay, like this brass right here. There's really no need to take that plug out unless it was damaged for some reason. And the same way like with the choke shaft, you know, I'm not pulling this cover up to fix what's behind, no. So you don't use all of the pieces, they give you extra stuff. And then we didn't use the screws. So, you know, and then there's that extra one. That's just the way it is. Don't be afraid if you have stuff left over, because you weren't supposed to use it all, you know. It was not made for that. And then you can see their instructions they give you have several different styles. Type A, fixed jet. Type B, adjustable jet, which is what we have. And Type C, adjustable jet, which is like what was on that Moline that has the load needle that comes in from underneath. So, and then it tells you, you know, shows you the parts. So if you get screwed up and you can't figure it out, why, you know, there you go. And then it shows you right here how to adjust your float, and you can see that it basically it's level when it's good to go. So, you know, you don't have to be too particular. Oh boy, I never looked at the back. This has got a diagram like what's on that 2020 Deer, because it's got a Schebler carburetor with that stupid anti-dieseling solenoid. And I've had trouble with that before. I had trouble with it last spring where it started flooding, and what it had done was it backed out. Instead of having a adjusting screw that you could see like that, it was like a screw with a stop nut on it that tightens it down to the body of this thing, and it had worked its way out a little bit and it was flooding. So anyway, hopefully you don't have that, because that's a whole thing of sadness, and that thing's expensive if you have to replace it. But parts can be had for these if you need something that, you know, isn't in the kit. If you go on the internet, you can find places, carburetor shops that have it. But basically, that is all there is to it. It's not really rocket science. You just got to make sure you take your time and put all the pieces back, because if you don't, you won't have any success. But I don't know how many hundreds of carburetors I've rebuilt, but I'm no expert. I just know that it doesn't take much to take it apart, clean it, and put it back together. So, and a lot of the old timers, they wouldn't even put new stuff in it. They'd just clean it up and put it back together. If all the gaskets were good, go again. We had some bad gas once when I was a kid, and Grandpa would do that all the time. He'd take it apart, clean it out, put it back together, and go back to the field. So, but anyway, when you got one this old that's been on there for years and years, it's probably just a good idea. And a lot of times you'll know right away, because you can't, when you get that gasket off between the two halves, it'll self-destruct and then you're had. So anyway, I hope that this was maybe somewhat interesting or useful to you. If not, disregard it. But like I said, more wintertime projects when the weather's bad, got to be doing something, so might as well be doing this. As always, if you enjoy my videos, give them a thumbs up. That helps out the channel, and it doesn't cost you anything. Leave a comment. Tell me that you liked it, or tell me that you hated it. Tell me I'm a moron. I really don't care, but anything that you say helps us out too. So thank you again, as always, for watching, and I will see you in the next one.